Welcome to BTA Politics on Business Television Africa. This is your exclusive political program that will give you information on what is happening in the field of politics around the country. Today, we're going to be touching a very sensitive issue that has to do with our election, and an organization have decided to embark on a project that has to do with ensuring that electoral reforms and integrity is maintained before and after our 2016 election. The Social Serve, an organization in Ghana, have decided to embark on this project. We'll be delving into what they do and also how they intend to promote this project. You're watching us live on Business Television Africa. The program is brought to you by the kindest courtesy of GM Foundation and Group Indom. You can send your thoughts and comments to the WhatsApp line 0206 583 547. We're also live online on www.businesstelevisionafrica.com. My name is Winston, Tackie. We go straight to the issue, but before then, let me introduce my panelists here in the studios, and they go by the name Mr. John Abuaba. He's the project coordinator, and also Dominic Kulariba. He's the peace building facilitator. All of them together with the Social Serve Ghana here in Ghana. Welcome, gentlemen. How's your week been?
Fine, by the grace of God.
Oh, that's good, that's good. So let me come to you, Mr. John Abuaba. You are the project coordinator and you are with Social Serve Ghana. Before we come to the issue today we're talking about promoting electoral integrity in Ghana during the 2016 and beyond. You've taken this particular project as something that you guys are going to embark on. And how did it come about? And also, Social Serve, what do you do as an organization?
Okay. Thank you very much. Before I come to the project, I will talk a little about Social Serve, what Social Serve organization, our mandate is. Social Serve is an organization, an NGO based in Ghana here. We've been existing for about 12 years now. Basically, we have 4 program areas. The first is on governance. We try to promote governance through engaging various institutions. We promote local governance more specifically. We engage with local elected representatives in discussing issues of development at the local level. When it comes to the second component is on health. We also promote quality health care in the various communities that we work. Thirdly, we are into environment and natural resource management. We work with a lot of farmers, working on issues of climate change, promoting local livelihoods of farmers. And then last of it is education. We are into promoting quality education at a basic level. So at Social Serve Ghana, these are 4 program areas that we work on.
Mentioning most of your projects, it appears that politics is something that you decided to jump into and also championing peace. Why that particular switch into this aspect?
Okay, and our governance programs, we not necessarily politics, but promoting good governance. So what we do is to engage when it comes to issues of election, because we know issues of elections, one, in terms of security and peace for the country. Secondly, in terms of empowering citizens to understand and be able to elect representatives both at the parliamentary level and at the national level. So that's a concern to us as an organization that in a democratic system like Ghana, we should also get involved in trying to build these institutions and then building capacity of people to be able to participate in the governance process. So it is an area and our governance project that we are working on.
Okay. Now, observing our governance system, sometimes there's been a lot of school of thought questioning whether, yes, we are adopting a kind of democracy, but it doesn't suit our culture, understanding, and the conventional wisdom that we are used to in terms of chieftaincy and how we run our decentralization systems. Do you believe, because you are an organization, you observed what has happened, the terrain, before you jump into pursuing this particular project. What is your take on that?
I think we are still growing. Development is a process. So as a country, we can't say we are there, but progressively, you can see our democratic systems are building. In terms of media, you can see these days a lot of media, press freedom, and all sorts. Decentralization, we are still struggling. When working at the grassroots, and working with most especially local governance institutions, you can see that we are still struggling. But we hope to be there one day. And this is why we all have to get involved when it comes to times like this, elections. It's also one of the processes or one of the means to show to the world that we are a really democratic country. So this is why we have gotten involved in this whole process.
Okay. In 2002, we observed a very quite challenging election, very competitive, until we saw the president being sworn in. Now, looking at how far we've come as a country in conducting an election, one would say Ghana's election is one of the most integral one until it was being tested at the Supreme Court. After the Supreme Court, there were a lot of suggestions and propositions that we saw organizations and parties calling for engagement in drafting certain policies that are necessary to ensure peaceful election. So going forward, what are some of the things that you propose as an organization, and also what are some of the challenges that you have observed in our electoral system?
I think following from 2012 elections, the petition that was put up by the NPP, the court made some recommendations. And I think we can't say that we don't need electoral reforms. We need electoral reforms. But I think there has been some attempts to reform the electoral process. Issues of the biometric verification. We are not yet at electronic or biometric voting, but with the verification, I think we are there. There are problems with it, but still, I think we are finding a way around it. Issues of when it comes to issues of conflict management, is also one of the things that is worrying us as a country. Stem from the fact that the political parties themselves, there should be some kind of dialogue among them in implementing some of these reforms. If there's no cooperation among the political parties, some of these reforms, we can't implement them. So I think we need some kind of cooperation, and the EC should also be on their toes to be able to implement some of those reforms. There will be agitation from the public. You know, various interests are in the system. People will try to bring their interest on board, but what will be good for Ghana is what we should all vote for, and we should all stamp.
Okay. After the petition was read, there were recommendations, just as you mentioned, and some has to do with the total overhaul and cleaning up of the voters register. I'm sure you've observed there were a lot of demonstrations by political parties, the Progressive People's Party, the National Democratic Party, the CPP, all the political parties, and even the media, even organizations such as the Let My Vote Count Alliance, were all on the street demanding that the voter register be renewed, and therefore they open up exhibition by the EC wouldn't be the solution. Now, assessing the key aspect that has to do with the integrity which the organization is pushing for, how integral or like how important is it to deal with the challenges or the contention, looking at the entrenched position being taken by the EC towards the voter register?
Okay, it's an entrenched position.
that is according to some skeptics.
Okay, different schools of thought. Mm-hmm. I think the various parties in the process have justified their case. NDC has justified their case, the NPP has justified their case, why we should clean or we should change the voter register in totality. But I think as a country, what matters is when you don't attain particular, you don't go there. When you're not 18 years, you don't go there register. So why should you go there, or why should you go register whilst you are not 18 years? So the fundamentals of the issues dwells within us, ourselves. You get it? Dwells with, when they exhibit or when they show, they open the register, we go, there is a procedure for, I mean, when you have a complaint, there's a procedure. If you feel someone is a challenge form, if you feel someone is not 18 years, the person came to you, just fill the challenge form. And then we handle it from there. If you feel someone has passed away, but the name's still on the register, just when they open the register.
Is that simple as you how to describe it?
Those are the institutions we are talking about. If institutions are working, that shouldn't be a challenge, because there's procedure for everything. When you have when you want to challenge something, just go through the process. And institutions should be working. The issue should be working. Everyone, the security, everybody should be working to be able to resolve those problems. So I don't see that as a bigger challenge if we are all up to task and we want to really work.
So when looking at the position that political parties are taking, would it help our democracy, or would you just say, because the Progressive People's Party and also some related political parties are calling for the use of renewing a voter identification number, national identification number. This will be a solution that will care, because all data of personalities or individuals or citizens in this country will be imputed. Will you also say that will bring integrity, per your opinion?
Oh, of course. If I think that can also be a way out of the situation, if we all agree that that will be the solution. But you see, all the political parties have their own justifications, and I think at a point they are all right in a way. But we need to analyze it beyond that in terms of cost. You see, if we have to clean the whole register, we have the resources to do it. Okay, why don't we do it? You get it? At this critical moment, whilst we have few months into the elections, is there a possibility? Can that be possible? In terms of even electoral education, people don't have information. So I think we should just cooperate, work together. All the various political parties should come together. Let's work together and go into this election. We can't be doing certain things now. It will delay the process, and that will be the origination of, conflict in a way.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Dominic Kulariba on this issue. And they said you are a peace building facilitator, so you facilitate the tenet of peace amongst people. So your understanding of peace is quite broad. Generally, before we come to the issues currently on our democracy and also our day-to-day practice of politics, when you say peace, is it something that is there that we go and pick it up, or is it something that we work for? How will you better describe peace for my viewers?
Thank you very much, and I would like to say a good day to your cherished viewers and listeners all over the country and beyond. You asked a very interesting question about peace. If you listen carefully, you realize anytime we mention peace, we talk about peace building. And the word building tells you that you have to start from somewhere. You need materials. Let me talk of literally putting up a structure as a building. You need materials, you need a land, you need space, you need expertise and the rest. In building a structure, you don't just get up and put materials together and place it on it. There is a format that must be taken. And the fact that it's a building means that it's not something that is just achieved, like you indicated, to just go and pick it. You must work at it. In the same way, peace is a simple word. In the definition of peace, if you go from one community to the other, you will get different words and different definitions, all towards peace. However, it is not easy to attain and maintain peace. So that is why, like I said, we talk about peace, we add building to it. It demands a constructive effort of every stakeholder, of every person who desires peace, to work assiduously to ensure that whatever efforts, whatever resources they are putting in is going first to ensure that they keep peace, they maintain peace, and they promote peace. In this way, as a country.
No, just break it down. You said they keep peace, they maintain peace, and they promote peace. Now, in keeping peace, what approach will it be?
Well, in keeping peace means that, for instance, in Ghana, we can say that we are enjoying relative peace. So, in keeping peace in Ghana, it means that we as citizens must desire the state that we are in now. And so, we must work or put in structures that will ensure that this particular state is maintained. So that any other process, any actions, any comments, anything that we do that has the tendency of disturbing the peace we are enjoying right now must be discarded. In that way, as citizens, we can be able to keep the peace that we are having.
What about the maintaining aspect?
And in maintaining it, we cannot remain that, okay, there is peace and so we are okay. In maintaining something, you must consciously work day in and out to take out obstacles, interferences that can come to distract that. What are some of the things that have caused chaos in some countries? In terms of democracy, in terms of their governance, in terms of religion, and all that you can think of. Let's talk about the West African sub-region. We can talk about Africa. We can talk about the world in general. What are some of the actions, some of the inactions that have led to chaos, that have distracted countries and caused mayhem and the lives of people and destruction of property? So, in order to maintain peace, we must take a cue from those particular occurrences and then work at getting the citizens to understand and appreciate the peace that they are having. Then, putting in structures like institutions to work, ensuring that we provide them with the necessary resources, the necessary expertise to be able to work, and then also conscientizing the citizens so that they are empowered, just like this project seeks to do, so that once they are empowered, they will definitely see signs that are coming that shows that they are likely not to enjoy the peace they are enjoying right now. And because of the appreciation they have for the peace they are enjoying, they will consciously work at maintaining or keeping
for the last
peace.
one, the sustenance, how do you...
Yes. In maintaining it, sustenance has to do with the future of the peace. So that we don't just enjoy the peace today and tomorrow we wake up and there is chaos. But as institutions, as NGOs, as governments, international organizations are putting in resources, as we are investing time and resources, how long do we think that we can continue to put in those resources? And you and I know that resources can become scarce. They are finite. And so once we have those resources today, whatever we do today must ensure that the peace doesn't end tomorrow. It doesn't end tomorrow next. But we are talking about peace in our lifetime, in perpetuity. So that the longer we stay as a country in peace, it goes to affect positively every facet of our society. Talk about economics, the businesses will be able to grow, people will be able to work, the country will run.
Okay, I think we'll come to the aspect of violence also and how violence can trigger economic turmoil in the long run. But now there's this perception that as soon as peace comes in mind, people actually just look out to the security, the police. Is it something that we need to get away from, or is something that we have to do more with renewing our mindsets about the perception of peace?
Thank you. Usually when I facilitate programs, and I'm talking about peace, I start with the individual. We talk about conflicts and violence. Violence takes away the peace. Conflicts can have the tendency of taking away the peace. But in talking of peace, first of all, it starts with the individual. If you do not have inner peace, if you are not at peace with yourself, it will change your structure as an individual. The way you think, the way you behave, your conduct, and everything will be affected. And we do not stay in isolation, especially in Africa or as Ghanaians. We live together in a community. So if you are disturbed as an individual and you extend it to your neighbors, then there's going to be conflict between you and your neighbors. If those conflicts are not well handled, then it will lead to what? To violence. So first of all, as Ghanaians, as individuals, we must understand that the first person that can propagate peace, that can build peace, that can promote peace is we as individuals, you the person. And so if we work at ensuring whatever that affects us as individuals, whether it has to do with issues of ignorance, poverty, mistrust, and all other things that are likely to affect the person, or even health, if we make sure that those things are put in place for the individual to feel comfortable to some extent and feel that he can depend, he can wake up tomorrow and the country or his community will be where he is, there is going to be a reduction in whatever issues that psychologically or socially may arise concerning individuals. Okay. And that will, in the long run, go to affect the community and affect the country as a whole, before we can think of the intervention of other persons that we call as peace agents or security agencies and the rest to come in.
So I'll come back to you shortly, but I'll be assessing the building blocks, because you said peace is a building process. But in building a structure, you need blocks, you need concrete, you have to have a foundation, you have to have a plan. And so the Ghana's plan towards attaining the peace that we yearn strongly for, in order to have development sustained in the long run. Because we've seen countries that who have peace and don't have sustainable development. We've seen countries that have violence and still have sustainable development. So what is the missing link and what is the relationship between it? But let me come to Mr. John on this another issue. You know, you coordinating people to pursue the drive for peace, and also take into consideration the electoral processes that is necessary to also have a peaceful election. I realize that in most of your project you focus on the constituency level. Why the constituency?
Parliamentary elections are held at the constituency level. And that is when it comes to our general elections, presidential and parliamentary elections, the constituency is the unit. So we want to engage more at the constituency level. So that is why we choose.
What advantage does that provide in terms of your goal?
With that, Ghana is broad, and you know, the constituencies makes their seats in parliament. So that's the unit of focus. So with that, we are able to engage people. We are able to. So I think that's the lowest unit that we can work with.
And some constituencies are really large, and so you have to come to the districts, you have to come to the municipal assembly. So what kind of cooperations do you see or challenges is likely to persist in pursuing certain coordination? Because you coordinate people and you get them together to pursue your project, which is getting the peace, promoting before and during and after election. You started this project in January this year, so you've embarked on some of them. What are some of the successes that you can?
Okay, let me just go back a little and then give a little overview of the project. Mm-hmm. This project, I must say, is supported by the European Union, and we are implementing this project for 26 months. Like, we are looking beyond the November 7th elections in terms of declaration of results and even transition to the new government. We are working in 15 constituencies across the country, but in 5 regions. And these regions are the Eastern region, the Volta, Ashanti, Western, Central, and then I think that's all. Yeah, that's the 5 regions. So in each of these 5 regions, we have 3 constituencies we are working in. You know, because of issue of resource, so we can't cover all the constituencies in Ghana. Basically, we are looking at a violent-free election, November 7th. An election where all the parties are satisfied with the result. even if you are not satisfied with the result, you need to pass through the laid down legal processes to make your case. So basically that is the goal we are contributing to. We are looking at 4 issues. And first of it is, we want to look at dialogue and cooperation among political parties at the constituency level. You know, there are a lot of issues that will come up. If that coordination or that cooperation doesn't exist between the political parties, they can resolve simple issues that will come up. The limited registration that just ended. Simple issues of someone not attaining 18 years and can spark into a very big
we witnessed it in violence.
But if there's that
cases
coordination,
of, fight amongst
yes,
parties around at the
yes,
polling stations.
yes, there's that coordination, and issues are addressed using the laid down legal processes, I think these things will not come up. So we are looking at inter-party cooperation. That's the first issue we are looking at. And with that, we have formed committees called inter-party dialogue committees in each of the 15 constituencies. The inter-party dialogue committee is something that was in place since 2012. In 2012, during 2012 election, those committees were set up, and the committees are run or are facilitated by the NCCE. So in 2012, in this 2016, as we are going into the election, we have reactivated all these committees in the 15 constituencies. The mandate of the committee is to facilitate conflict resolution at the constituency level. So through dialogue, they are able to resolve some triggers and early warning signs that are likely to spark into violence. So these committees are in place. We are supporting them in their meetings so that they are able to discuss issues and then resolve conflicts as and when it comes up.
So in cases where the conflict is about them, where does the issues move to? Because there should be structures in conflict resolution.
Yes.
Just like in the court cases. You have a lower court, you have a upper court, you have a Supreme Court, the High Court. So how do you attend to that?
The committee doesn't prosecute. They just use alternative dispute resolution processes, dialogue, to resolve the conflict. On the committee, the representation of the committee is such a way that all the stakeholders, when it comes to elections, have a representation on the committee. The security services has a representation. The EC has a representation. The NCCE, all the political parties, the media, civil society, traditional authority. And where they are able to get someone from the judiciary also serve on the committee. So any issue, any conflict that will come up or that will erupt in the constituency is reported to the IPDC. And the IPDC picks up. What goes beyond them, then they address it to appropriate authority or institution for resolution and redress. So this is the mandate of the IPDC. And that is a bigger aspect of the project that we are looking at. Because if we understand issues together and we resolve that, let's go this way, conflict is zero. The second aspect of the project is it's focusing on the youth. We know the youth sometimes can be used as agents to perpetuate violence. So we are looking at what role can the youth play as we are going into major elections like this. Agents of peace or agents of destruction, of violence. So we are engaging the youth in all these 50 constituencies. We have formed youth networks, a network of various youth groups in each of these 15 constituencies. And then these youth groups are both civil society and politically affiliated groups. They come together, they form a network. Currently, we are building their capacity in peace building.
You asked a question which I would like you to answer. You question whether the youth would serve as an agent of peace or agent of violence. Now, what situation have created that loophole that they can be tapped as a resource to influence both these particular causes?
This is a very broad You see, a lot of issues come to play. You can look at issues of unemployment, idleness, issues of poverty, and a whole lot. You know, there's a class of the youth that are normally being engaged when it comes to this. Because for me, as a young person, if I have a job and my job is demanding, I have to spend like almost the whole day in the office or doing. When do I have time, or do I get a time to go perpetuating violence? But if I'm adult, and let's say a political agent or a political figure comes to me, oh, go do this for me, and there's the reward attached to it, and the person is idle, the person is tempted to go in for that. You get it? So the youth are idle. And why are the youth idle? Issues of unemployment. I get it. So you the political person or the political agent offers a package to the youth. So he chooses to go in for. Notwithstanding that, there are some of the youth that are political, sympathizers or supporters. And they are willing and ever ready to die for a political party. For them, they are also there. Who wants to go, fighting for a particular cause for a political party, to win power, or in the anticipation that when the political party comes to power, I will benefit this.
So what is the reception of the youth where you get to them, engage with them about this project?
We are encouraging the youth. We are encouraging young people.
Yes.
To get involved in this project. As peace promoters, let's engage. Let's talk to each other. Let's discuss issues of peace, not violence. Violence, you can't use violence to resolve a conflict. There are a lot of ways of resolving a conflict. We shouldn't resort to violence, not at all. So we are just, as we engage the youth in these 50 constituencies, through the capacity building that we've been, for the few past days, we've been providing for them, what we tell them that we are encouraging them to get involved in promoting peace rather than violence. Don't allow yourself to be used as a young person, to be used as an agent for distraction or violence as we head towards 2016 elections. Because when you are doing it and you are caught, the law will deal with you. By then, the person or the political agent who, gave you the offer and that ties you to go into it, but then they would not be there to, defend you. So we are just encouraging young people to get involved.
Okay. Before you come to the next one, there are instances that even you don't get the political parties to rather influence the youth into getting into violence. There are some aspects of the youth, let's say frustrated, depressed, number of the youth who are unemployed, looking for job, who are still coming out of the universities and are frustrated about the system of unemployment where you need to know someone before you can get a job. Those class of the youth do not need influencers to get violence. How do we handle with this? Deal with this kind of issue?
If I understand your question well,
like in situations where the environment makes people violent instead of them having instead.
Okay, so the youth, agitating for a change.
Possibly.
Yeah, you can see that of late. It's all over. Young people have started agitating for when you come to our setting here, employment, change in government, processes and all that. You see, it's good for our democracy. Civil society must be empowered to speak against things that doesn't order well for the country. You know, to government, that should be a good news to you because that gives you feedback from civil society, what people are thinking, and that should help you reorganize yourself, to reform your policies and your programs, and know where the demand is coming from and handle it accordingly. So the key of it is that young people must be empowered. Young people must know the difference between what is good and bad. Young people must be able to differentiate between, as we are going to the elections like this, young people must, have a voice. And government must create or must have a space for young people to, take part in decision-making processes. But if that is missing and young people are agitating, then they're agitating for a good cause. You get it? So in the project, what we are doing is that not just promoting peace, but we're also building capacity of young people to be able to assess candidates that come in front of them with youth policies. So one thing we are doing is to come out with a youth agenda. And the agenda basically talks about...
I think we'll come back to the agenda so that you give us really details on what the agenda intends to get, or let's say promote, as an advocacy towards national development. So, Mr. Kulariwa, let me come to you. I'm sure you want to ask something in terms of the peace and the youth participation, but you can do that briefly.
You asked what could be done for the youth that are agitating, not being led by somebody. You know, under normal circumstances, when everybody is satisfied, then there will be less reaction from the people. Looking at this country, all that comes each day in terms of youth agitations and all those things are as a result of certain things that we are either not doing right or we are not doing at all. One is failed promises. If the leaders, the political parties, make promises that they cannot keep, with time, the people they promise will get agitated. So aside what he mentioned earlier, that has to do with non-empowerment of the youth or lack of jobs and those things. But sometimes, if you do not go by your words, you will lead people into doing certain things that the youth today do, though it is not the best. So moving forward, our leaders need to understand that the young ones are copying from them. And so if you promise the young ones, you promise them jobs, and you get into office, you have to put in structures possible to make sure that as many of the young ones as possible could be employed. It also means that the youth themselves must put themselves in the right position to be employed, which is also at the other side or at the other end. Now, still come with the youth. There are some youth that are pushed by their peers because they have seen it being done in other countries, or they have seen it being done by other groups elsewhere, and so they want to do. So what can we do about those ones too? That is why SocioServe, Development Gateway International, GLOA, with the assistance of the EU, is undertaking this project. So that as part of the components of this project, as we move on, we interact with the youth, but in addition, we interact with the stakeholders at all the constituencies that we've attended or we've been to. The political parties have been there, or they are part of the group, and in almost all the constituencies that we visited, we have had the DCEs, we've had the coordinating directors to come and either be part of the program or come and listen to the program. And through that, they get the voice of the people that they are there to govern.
Okay, all right. So now that you've addressed the issue of the youth, and I think that is a nice approach. Now, initially, I say you were addressing the instance of peace and the police as a tenet of promoting peace. But why has that perception existed, and what do you think can be dealt with to handle our perception?
Well, perceptions may be real or not, but perceptions are mostly built over time. That probably they hear something which is a lie, and they hear it again, and they hear it again, and they hear it again. They are likely, the mental faculty is likely to establish that then there will be some aspect of truth in it. Now, the perception, as you indicate, that probably has led to all this. In order to resolve these things, one, we must let our institutions work. The EC must be seen to be proactive. The political parties must respect themselves as political parties. They must respect their opponents and not see it as a battle, but they should see it as a fair ground for them to be able to exist. Then, aside that, they must respect the institutions that have been mandated by the state to conduct the elections. If we are moving into an election and already you do not trust the EC to be able to do it, then it is dangerous, because there is a tendency that whatever outcome may still not be trusted. And so EC must work whatever they need to do for individuals, for political parties to regain the trust. They have to do it. The political parties should calm down, tone down the words, because if you are doing something and all the time you have agitations and pushings and people, and you know that several times EC has been dragged to court on issues, and the more you go in back and front, if you're in court waiting to resolve, to get a verdict on an issue, then it will be a hindrance to the implementation of certain policies that you were intending to do. So these things, I believe, have led to the delays, some of the delays that we have seen so far on the part of the EC. Aside that, the state institutions that are mandated to provide security must also be seen to be working. When the citizens develop some mistrust for, let's say, the police service, then they are likely to tag them to be biased. And we have seen that several times in this country, that opposition always feels that the security services are in favor or in bed with the ruling government from the 90s, 2000 till date. And we've heard it from various opposition parties. And so whether there are perceptions or not, it befalls on the security services to re-strategize. And I've been in certain programs where the security services themselves have worked, they are working to make sure that whatever perceptions that people have about them are taken out. And one thing I keep telling is that we must be able to trust our security services. Because you can Google, you can watch the media each day, you see what happens in other countries. I can tell you for sure that in every society, you cannot get everything working perfectly the way you want. It is possible that some of these police officers or security agencies may do certain things that will raise public fury because of their actions. But let's not be quick to judge every action as being biased. We must be able to trust and believe in the ability of our police to deal with any security issues that may arise in this country. If those fears are taken out, then people trust the system, and then the structures are allowed to work. I believe that all these things put together can make sure that our elections in 2016 will be conducted free and fair, and even beyond 2016.
Okay. Right. In some countries, they've instituted a policy where comments that are foul and kind of sound abusive against individual personalities, that is not necessarily helping our democracy by personalities that are even big are arrested. In Ghana, looking at the 2012 election, there were a lot of foul language that was used that were used in our politics that people have continuously lamented, educated. We've seen the case of National Peace Council, the religious organizations. We saw government organizations calling for decent language. In your call mandate, that is some of the project that you are embarking on, in the fourth point, you say monitoring selected radio stations for indecent campaign language by politicians on platforms. And so how is that an issue, and how do you intend to deal with that?
Language is a medium of communication, and communication is what sends the message that we have to the people. If you use communication negatively, there are repercussions. For instance, I am speaking, I can choose to speak positively into the lives of people or negatively. If you speak positively, people will hail you. If you speak negatively, you will get reactions. Like you indicated, there are several instances of people using foul language on our media. First of all, let's ask ourselves, is that approved? Yes or no? If no, do we have structures, institutions that are there to check those things or not? Yes, we have. And that is why we said that the institutions must work. The National Media Commission is there. And as part of the project, we collaborate with Media Foundation for West Africa.
Yeah, I wanted to get a heads up of that. How
Yes.
come, and what are the influence in handling these issues? What influence?
Well, the details of it, I think the project coordinator himself will be able to talk about that. But what the project is doing is to train, they've selected about 10 media houses in these particular project constituencies. They are giving them training on conflict reporting, media reportage, and other aspects, so that with that training, they will do two things. In their presentation of reports each day, in their narrations, they will be mindful of the language that they use. Secondly, they themselves will act as guides, because as they are in their media houses, whether most of them are radio stations or they are all radio stations, you host people, and those people come and they talk on the shows. So it is your responsibility to control what they bring out, because it has a tendency of affecting. It does affect the people who are listening to them. So the media houses themselves and the persons trained, they also will check the language of the people that are on their shows, their comments, to make sure that they are suitable and do not sit on, or do not use such platforms to send out messages that are insulting
what
or
will you
derogatory.
propose as a solution or as a check or watchdog to media houses that are rather being owned by political parties themselves?
I think that basically what I see as a problem there is that the media houses themselves are not working in the tenets of media in Ghana.
Why would you say that?
We have institutions in Ghana that are checking the work of the media, either as an individual journalist or as a house, a media house itself. Every journalist in Ghana, I believe, has gone through training. If the person has gone through the right training, he or she will conduct himself well. I don't doubt the fact that some people may be trained from other places, and so for that matter, they may come out with something that can be described as unprofessional conduct. But even among those who have been trained properly, there is a possibility that one person strays. I believe that, I'm not a journalist, but I believe that either the GJA or the National Media Commission, they have regulations that govern. And in those regulations, they will have measures to deal with people or institutions, media houses that go contrary to what that has been leaders. So they must be allowed to work. For instance, if you're a political party and you own your radio station, fine, it's your right to own. But the content of it is not your right. The content that you produce must also be in consonance with what we agree on as a country. If you violate that, there are certain measures that must be allowed to take place. But if we shield them because probably they are in power, or we shield them because they have authority, we shield them because they are people that cannot be touched, then at the end, the cost of what will be produced from those stations will be something that will be too great for us to be able to handle as a country.
Okay, all right. I think today very quite revealing conversation we are having at the moment, and I think I'm really enjoying the conversation. Now, just as we discussed on peace, integrity, maintaining it and sustaining it before and after the 2016 election, this is very critical for us to take into consideration our own individual contribution to this national peace development. Like they say, peace is a building process. You have to add your block to the mansion of peace that we all intend to have at the end, before, and during and after the election. So you're watching BTA Politics live on Business Television Africa. We go for a break where we'll give you the political news. After that, we come back and have the conversation still commencing right here on BTA Politics. So up next is the BTA Political News. Okay, welcome back from the political news. I'm sure updates on what is happening in our field of politics have been given to you right about now. This is your exclusive BTA Politics, where analysis are done exclusively right here. All issues come from here before they get into a public discourse. So if you're watching us right now, you are fortunate as well as I am, being privileged to discuss this issue with you. Thanks for watching, and we are more here. Still send your thoughts to the WhatsApp line 0206 583 547. My guest at the moment I have stated we'll be discussing our peace, our role, whether peace building is necessary, whether the role that individual institutions and what needs to be done. And they've taken it as a project, and they go by, they start with an institution called Social Serve Ghana, and they are pushing for electoral integrity in Ghana during, before, and after the 2016 election. I think it's a very necessary issue that we need to tackle with. And sit there with me today, John Oboaba is a project coordinator, and also Dominic Kolariba is a peace building facilitator with Social Serve Ghana. So now let me take final comment from them before I think we get wrapping up on this very long discussion we've been having comprehensively today on BTA Politics. So let me start with Mr. Oboba. So going forward, what is Social Serve projecting, and how do they intend to push it as they conclude this election going into 20 November?
Thank you. I think we have few activities ahead of us to continue the engagement. One with the media, like Dominic rightly indicated for the break, that we are going to train, select from this 10 radio stations, and we have also recruited monitors. And these monitors will be trained the few weeks ahead of us to monitor these radio stations. So a monitor will be assigned to a radio station, and you listen to the political programs on a daily basis, and you record, and then you submit a report on what language was used, was there any foul language used, and all that. So the Media Foundation for West Africa, together with in collaboration with Social Serve and our other partners, will issue monthly reports on this, monitoring exercise, just to discourage foul language in the media as we approach November 7th. And then last of it is we are doing general education. You know, they just ended voters registration.
Yes.
If you were at the police center, you will realize that people don't have information. People are not educated. People don't know what is happening. So we are supporting in that regard as well. We are doing community education on the electoral process, what should be done as a voter, the do's and don'ts and all that. So as part of our project, we are also doing that education across all the 15 constituencies. We are working with a number of stakeholders, and we must be grateful for their support. The National Peace Council helped us in our peace building trainings, training of the inter-party dialogue committees. We facilitated such trainings, and we are grateful for their support.
The regional executive secretaries.
The regional executive secretaries, they were the resource persons, and we hope to continue engaging with them. And we also hope that they will also get involved as we preach this issue of peace across the regions. Lastly, I also want to show appreciation to the National Commission for Civic Education. You know, for the sustainability of this whole initiative, we need to work with these institutions. So the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, has also been of great support to us in the various constituencies. They are moderating the IPDCs, their meetings and all that, and we are grateful for that. the National Youth Authority, the EC themselves.
I think they are a whole list.
The security agencies. Right. So my last word is that.
Okay, I think okay, you know, because of time, let me get the reaction. He would definitely add the last word in this submission.
All right, all right.
All right, Mr. Dominic.
Yes. Talking about the inter-party dialogue committees,
yes.
I think that that is something key to all the constituencies. They have been given training on conflict resolution and management, identifying triggers of conflicts and then violence, and then not just about identifying, but being able to give the report. In the discussions at the point you say, so when they know that, or when the issues are raised that are beyond them, what do? They have been taken through reporting systems, so that as much as they have been empowered to be able to deal with these conflicts, there are certain conflicts that they may not be able to handle. And they need to know the time they will be able to do that. I mean, they need to identify that these conflicts are beyond us and then be able to channel it to the right institution because of the stakeholders that are in these inter-party dialogue committees. So we call on all political parties in all these regions, these 5 regions that we've mentioned, and in these constituencies that these projects have been implemented, that when there are issues, you do not need to raise your voice, you do not need to incite the youth, incite people into violence. First of all, you must remember that we have inter-party dialogue committees, especially when those issues or conflicts are politically motivated or politically linked up with. Okay. Send them to the committees. They will sit down and use dialogue and mediation and find these issues resolved amicably, in a way that will not break the relationships that are in the community, but that at the end of the resolution of these conflicts, the people will continue to work together or live together as one to promote the elections, and then see to it that whatever the outcomes of the elections are, we will be better positioned and prepared to accept.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show. It's a pleasure having you to come on BTA Politics, and I believe continuously we'll be monitoring your activities, and also we'll be giving update to our viewers on what is necessary for peace to your plans and your project you're backing up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, viewers, as you can see, my guests today have been Mr. John Oboba, he's a project coordinator, and also Mr. Dominic Fulariba, he's a peace building facilitator. All of them together with the Social Serve Ghana, an organization that has taken upon itself to promote in peace during our 2016 election, and what they intend to do. They've taken us a project, so we believe we've all be supporting them, because peace for you is peace for me. So we have to always take it in our heart and make it our cause, our daily bread in fighting for peace in our country. So I think it's a worthy cause, and let's support them. Up next is our election update, where we give you updates on what is necessary in our field of politics. So you've been watching BTA Politics live on Business Television Africa. The program was brought to you by kindness courtesy of GM Foundation and Group Indum, and the program produced by Anna Maria Nyame and the cameraman and crew. I say thank you very much. And next, behind the scenes, amazing work, and my editors and all of them doing amazing work. I'll have to say my name is Winston Tackie. I've been your host for tonight. Stick and stay with us on BTA. Enjoy the rest of our program.